some important subjects. I wanted to first start off by talking about studying and how important it really is. A lot of people go to school and whatnot, go to college and get their education, and then they assume that they've learned the bulk of what they need to learn because they now have a solid set of skills to tackle going about getting a job and making money here in the Matrix, and that's fine. But when you stop learning new information that's vitally important, in a sense, the mind is like a muscle, the brain is like a muscle, it needs to be exercised. And unfortunately, a lot of people here in the Matrix know how to conform to mainstream education in relation to going to college, learning really important tools to go out and make money here in this material world. And again, that's fine. But when you've only accumulated knowledge that pertains to money and finances and your career, it's a big problem, because a lot of people aren't learning new things that can help them with their health. They're not learning about things that have been hidden from them intentionally here in this material world to keep them from not evolving. So study is very, very important, you guys. To me, if I'm not learning, I don't feel like I'm living. And I like to try to study anywhere from 2 to 8 hours a day, depending on how much time I have. Sometimes I have a lot more time, and sometimes I don't have as much time. But, you know, there's times where I like to watch comedy films and things like that just to kind of de-stress. It helps me. Putting a smile on your face in a crazy world can be a very beneficial form of medicine, in a sense. They say laughter is the best medicine, and I think that's true to some extent. So it's not like in all my downtime I'm just studying and cramming information. That alone can be very stressful. There were periods where I did that, where I was studying 6 to 8, sometimes 10 hours a day, and just never really giving myself downtime to actually de-stress and, you know, put a smile on my face. I was just totally obsessed with studying, constantly hitting books, constantly finding lectures on YouTube, online, reading PDFs, you name it, just cramming like a madman. That can lead to imbalances, because you got to learn. There's a science to this. There's a science to learning, where you've got to kind of reward yourself after you've accumulated certain amounts of knowledge, especially depending on what type of knowledge you're accumulating, because some forms of knowledge can be very stressful by default, just predicated upon the nature of what you're learning, such as the corruption here in this world through the banking system, the food supply, you name it. It's important to do your work, put your effort out, or put out your effort, and then relax a little bit, through whether that be through studying, or excuse me, through whether that be through entertainment, such as watching comedy movies or comedy shows, hanging out with friends, going out and having a good time, you name it. But I'm getting off subject here, you guys. I just wanted to talk about how important study is. You can never stop learning. The mind has this miraculous ability to just accumulate so much knowledge and so much wisdom. And if you're not continually filling this miraculous tool full of knowledge, it's a huge loss, is what I'm getting at. There are so many things to learn, especially when it comes to health. You can never stop learning. You can never stop studying. It leads to so many discoveries. And who wouldn't want to keep learning and acquiring knowledge, acquiring wisdom? So I like to study. I like to study things like Kundalini. I love to study things about veganism. I like to study statistics about the insanity of this world we live in, and the food supply. I like looking into certain organizations and what they're doing behind closed doors. I like to study yoga. I like to study breathing, deep breathing exercises, relaxation techniques. I love studying about, you know, the mind control that is being currently employed here in this matrix, which is very real. But aside from that, you guys, I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on that, because a lot of people get into this pattern where they think that because they've finished their career or their schooling, that they're done learning. And I'm not saying that people don't learn things after they go to school and whatnot. Of course they do. They learn practical things, but there's much more to life than just the practical. There's much more than just what this matrix wants to fill your mind full of. It's been hidden, however. And that's why I love studying the occult. And the occult has gotten such a bad rap as a term here in the material world. All the occult means is that which has been hidden. And who wouldn't want to uncover the gems behind the curtain? Who wouldn't want to dig down into the sand and try to extract what's been hidden from your perception? There's a reason why those things are hidden from you. And it's because this beast doesn't want you to find out what they are. So, crazy world, ladies and gentlemen. I actually, for Christmas, I spent Christmas with my family here in California. It was really nice to see all them. It was nice to see my aunts and my uncles, and we shared gifts and had a good time. A large majority of my family now is vegan, which is really, really interesting, because back in the day, going to family events and whatnot, there was like prime rib on the table, or turkey or ham, and mashed potatoes with a bunch of butter or milk and butter in them, you name it. But now I would say about 50 to 60% of my family's vegan. My cousins, one of my cousins is vegan, one is a vegetarian, my aunt's a vegan, and her husband, my uncle, is practically vegan, my mom's practically vegan, I'm a vegan. It was really interesting. It was cool to sit down at the table and just have a bunch of vegan options, and to really go to town instead of having to like make my own food and bring it, you name it. But I got some cool gifts. This is something that I've really wish I would have kind of known about and got a long time ago. This is a Bluetooth speaker for my phone. You can actually use this on a laptop as well. What it allows you to do is it allows you to turn on the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth on your laptop or your mobile device, and actually play music or whatever it is that you want to listen to through a speaker. And for a long time I've taken my phone around in this car and listened to lectures on my phone, and unfortunately the phone doesn't get loud enough. But with this Bluetooth speaker, I mean, it's like I'm in a theater. And now while I'm driving, I can actually listen to lectures, I can learn new things, I can actually play meditations or deep breathing exercises through this, and I can park my car, or even while I'm driving, exercise my mind by listening to certain lectures or doing certain breathing exercises. This is a really cool tool. Because, you know, on this car's kind of loud. This is an old Volvo. And when you get on the freeway or whatnot, it creates so much noise, the motor and etc., that it's hard to actually hear things through the phone speaker. So this is a huge tool that I've, for some reason, just not purchased or not known about, you name it, for a very long time, that can become a very useful study tool, at least for me, because I spend a lot of time driving. I drive often. And the radio doesn't have anything good on it in terms of learning. It's all music pretty much, unless you go to AM, and a lot of the AM stations are based around sports and you name it. So what I like to do, you guys, is actually load my phone full of lectures and actually listen to them when I'm out and about doing stuff. And this just comes in massive. It comes in very, very handy. So I think this was like $30. My mom got me this. This is a very awesome thing. I think the battery lasts for about 3 days. If you're playing volume on the highest level. It's amazing how loud that little speaker gets. And this is which model is this? This is called an Unce. I think that's how you pronounce it. An Unce Angle 3. Designed in the United States by Cambridge Soundworks, but made in China. And that's how you spell it. Unce Angle 3. And what's cool is it has these little rubber grips on the bottom. And I have a book that I lay down on my chair next to me, and these rubber grips hold on to it really well. So if you take turns, the thing doesn't roll around, you name it. But excuse me. There were a lot in my early 20s, after my first full-blown Kundalini awakenings. I had a series of them in my early 20s. I really started detaching from the whole college thing and the mainstream education. I was actually in junior college at the time, and I just decided to drop out of it. I knew deep down that there was more to life than what I was learning, so I decided to put myself through school. I spent probably $1,000 on books over a 2 or 3 year period, accumulated a ton of knowledge, downloaded so many different things off the internet, PDF files, different notes. I started writing in books, and I really wanted to uncover the truth of what was going on, because those Kundalini awakenings showed me that there was much more to life than what we were currently being told there was. We exist in a world where we can actually evolve this biology and this consciousness to a level that is so far out there compared to what most people are used to. It would blow your mind. to actually be able to bear witness to what the body was designed to be able to do. It's a limitless machine. It is a time travel machine. It is a biological enlightenment wand. And anything, we can literally achieve anything we imagine in an enlightened state. And the only way to achieve enlightenment is through Kundalini. So I wanted to, once I experienced Kundalini, I was in the school process at the time. I had all this stuff going on. It was highly egotistical. And the Kundalini came along and just completely changed the direction of my life for the better. And I went, you know what? I'm going to drop out of the school stuff. This isn't suiting me. I don't care what my parents think. I don't care what my friends and their families are going to think. Because I know that deep down, I need to learn that. I need to study this subject. I need to learn more about the biology and how it's been shut off. I need to learn. I want to seek the truth. So I did. And, you know, for years I would get into this car and go and park it and just study for hours, listening to lectures, reading books. It was like a mobile library to some extent. But